Yo, this your boy Miguel Hampton, a.k.a. Guelly.
This is Demond, a.k.a. Demond Does.
What's up, everybody? My name is Damon.
Tranere in the building.
Welcome to Common Conversations with the Odd Fellas.
Start it up.
No topic is off the table.
Superman don't go nowhere without his cape.
We came together to cry, laugh, agree, and to disagree. So let's go. We got a whole new game.
Now, what were you about to say?
I have no flipping idea.
Good.
So, challenging week. You're tired of talking to crazy people about COVID at work because you deal with COVID crazy people all day.
Oh, it's crazy.
Well, you know, take a vacation.
I'm working on it. Trust me,
All
my
right, cool.
anniversary's coming up. And yeah, I'm gonna get out of here.
All right, cool.
Right on.
Take a dumb people. For all my people that are watching, sometimes you got to take a stupid people vacation. That doesn't mean you have to go anywhere. It just means that, like today, like I'm not wearing my glasses. And one of the things that my wife would say to me when she don't want to talk to me, she takes off her glasses and she then looks at me and says, "I can't hear you." Right. Chew on that shit for a minute, right?
Real talk.
Oh, wow.
She takes, no glasses on, and I'm trying to talk to her, and she's like, "I can't hear you," as if. But apparently, so if you got to take a break from stupid people, take your glasses off.
Facts.
You can hear them, you just don't have to listen. That's all I'm saying. So,
Right.
But yeah, man, how's your week been going, Demar?
For the most part, it's been good. I had an episode of Demond Does drop today. This is probably I know I said this last week, and I may say it again next week, but I've had a really good season so far. I interviewed Derek Ferguson, who created the title character Dylan, which is if you're watching us, it's on, I guess you would be watching us right now because they're going to be doing listening to the podcast later. But anyway, I have a book of his. Well, actually, oddly enough, he didn't write any of the stories in here. A bunch of other writers did for the anthology. But anyway, his name is Derek Ferguson. Dylan is basically, if you combine James Bond, Doc Savage, the old pulp hero, and Shaft, and make him an adventure. It's action packed. It's awesome. Love it.
And he's carrying a sword.
I'm not sure why he's carrying a sword. I haven't read that short story yet, so I haven't got that far. But
You carry knives?
This is true.
Okay.
well, there you go.
Never go anywhere without.
And he's a professional.
He's a professional swordsman.
Sure, that sounds good. But Derek has been. He was a great guest. It was one of those things where they say never meet your heroes or anything like that, which I have, and that rings true sometimes. But he's one of the good ones, and it was cool. It was cool. So check out the podcast. He was a great interview. So
Dope. So we're gonna check that out. Go to Demond Does on all your podcast pieces.
on all the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser.
All the slots. They're all out there. And there's a ticker at the bottom of the screen. So if you're watching, you can check it out. If not, y'all how to get there. So it's been a dope week though. Real talk. So last week was super dope because we went on vacation, and the wife and I, as of Monday, are celebrating 18 years. Long ass time marriage.
Congratulations.
So yeah, man. So that's super dope, and we're enjoying that and having fun. And so the whole week we're gonna be celebrating.
So what's the secret to 18 years? As someone who's coming up on 2.
So okay, I'm not asking her if she cares. That is the secret to staying married. Don't ask the spouse if they care. Just do it. No, no, real talk. We were sitting out on the porch of the office today, and we were talking about 18 years, and she was, we were talking about how people don't make it this long, and yada yada, et cetera, and she said something like, 10 years ago, we don't know. And I said, nah, we don't. And so to answer your question, I said, yeah, because I don't know how to quit. And so I said, my greatest weakness is I don't know how to quit. And so we got a laugh out of that. And but honestly, I think it's being authentic, being real, being true to oneself, and then being true to the union. And you have to define the union. It was one day, maybe, T and I will tell the story. It's not a smooth paved road, marriage, but no relationship that you're going to build, that you're going to develop, is a smooth road. And so I think that getting to 18 years is intentional. You have to want it. You have to want to build something together. You have to want to be in that relationship. And so, yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of other shit we could throw out there in the wind, but this ain't that conversation. So let's go. But nonetheless, we went down to Gatlinburg up in the hills because, the fam was like, yo, dude ain't going out in the public right now. So, but that was super cool. We all got to hang out. Got some new business opportunities that are coming along the pipeline. So that's hot during COVID because we know it's been a long, empty, pocketed ass year for a lot of small businesses. Well, a lot of business in general, but for a lot of local small businesses, it's been a challenge anyway. So, but as things are starting to turn, hopefully folks have made the right pivots and opportunities are going to be coming. And so, give us an ability to kind of maybe rubber band back a little bit. But other than that, yeah, man, that's it. That's all that's going on.
Cool.
It's a lot. So without Tranere, we still got everybody who watches or tunes into the podcast. Y'all know how we start this bad boy, right? We start out asking each other how we been, because realistically, we only see each other once a week. But the thing is that Tranere tends to lead us with some flabbergasted ass question that we must answer,
and he always answers last. It's so unfair.
Right, he answers last, and he swears the bejesus
that he doesn't think about
that
it.
he doesn't think about it first, right? So
I'm not Tranere.
You gotta relax.
You in the Tranere seat. Let's go.
All right, my question for you all is: are you afraid to break a thing in order to make it better?
Are you afraid to break a thing in order to make it better?
This is a 2-part question. And the second part of that is...
Hold on. Damon, you go first because you made the strange face.
He did, didn't he?
What kind of thing are we referring to?
Anything.
It depends on the thing. I mean, you want... If it's... wow. If it's... Well... So we're talking, this will be fun to edit. This will be fun to edit. Okay, so am I breaking a thing to make it better? Yeah.
Are you afraid to break a thing in order to make it better?
Honestly, probably yes, because if it ain't broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. However,
that's a weeble wobble and we all fall out of.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a real.
You get there,
like,
all right.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just on the fence of how do you break something to make it better? Like the idea of breaking something means that it's broke, means that it might no longer be functional.
And breaking it also presupposes that you did it on purpose. That's the thing. That's probably the thing I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around.
So maybe you intentionally broke something, but I don't know how it makes it better. Okay, so let's hypothetically say...
I can give a simple example out of the medical field.
Thank you.
All right, so...
Sometimes a person will break a bone and it won't heal right. So the doctor will re-break it so that it will heal properly.
Well, you just said re-break. See,
it was broken, it healed, so he has to break it in order to make it.
He has to re-break it. Right.
To make it better.
Okay, so when you break my leg to make it better.
Semantically, that's not the same thing. No, that's what's bothering me. It bothers me. What do you have an example? Do you have an example with a relationship or anything else? Because I knew you were going to give me that example. Like, I understand that one.
Okay. Let's go with relationships.
Please.
All right, let's go.
Are there times where you'll need to break a relationship in order for it to be better?
How do you break a relationship?
You can break a relationship by changing the dynamics of it, changing the way in which you interact. That could be a form of breaking it. You can break a relationship by breaking the relationship off completely in order to put both of you all in a better dynamic, a better situation. And here's my personal example with relationships. My first wife and I, we needed to get divorced. We were horrible husband and wives. We did not fare well. But after our divorce, we spent more time together after our divorce than we did the entire time we were married. And our relationship was better after we broke our marriage and just stayed friends.
Okay. I now understand the question.
Let's go.
And I think in that case, the answer would be always yes, because with the relationship, because if it needs to change and if it needs to change, if the dynamics need to change, somebody already knows it. One of us already knows it, probably both of us, but at least one of us consciously knows that. And if it needs to change, the mature thing to do, which I can't say that I'm going to do all the time, would be to talk about what's going on and what that change is. So that's.
So I'm just going to go out here on a limb. Typically the thing, like if you break my laptop, there's no making it better. That shit's broke. It ain't coming back.
Real talk.
If you break my car, you can't break my car and make it better. So, I mean, philosophically, you know, Aubrey put on here, you know, you could break a bad habit and make it better. I don't know that you can break anything to make it better. Like, even the scenario of a nose, like if you break your nose, typically they have to re-break the nose to set it, right?
Right.
Re-break. So, to break a relationship, I would have to go on a limb and say the relationship is already broken. And that's why you're parting, right? Your marriage was already broken. My theory, my opinion. It wasn't, you didn't break it. It was already broke. That was the reason it wasn't working. You typically don't break shit if it's working, unless you just got anger issues or just clumsy as hell. Like, I'm just saying, my wife tells me, she'll tell everybody, I'll tell everybody, I break shit daily. Like, it's not a day that doesn't go by where I don't accidentally break something. So that's why I buy everything in pairs. But because once it's broken, there's no fixing it. Now, I'm not saying you can't still use it, but you said this is a 2-part question. That's my answer.
Yeah, that's the first part. Jeez, I want Tranere back.
Wow.
Man, we would get the poet we would put the poet in that chair.
Right.
I want the football player back.
I mean, you guys. Wow.
Right.
You basically answered the second part of the question does your answer depend on what the thing is?
Yes.
All right, so United States government, from the wisdom of my 16-year-old daughter, but even, okay, so I can't even use that example because we were talking about how systematic racism exists in our country and in our spaces because government is broken, right? Police are broken, right? The system is broken. And of course, the wisdom of the daughter says, no, it's not. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do.
Right.
Therefore, it's not broken, right? It's working exactly the way. So now here's a reality. Maybe we have to break it in order to fix it. So, in theory, if we're talking about a system, it might be necessary to break the system in order to reset it into something else.
That you've talked to me about that in regards to business. Never being afraid to make the change. Being able to recognize and identify when you need to make that turn. The process you're working.
But pivoting is not breaking.
If the process that you're using is not working.
Right, then it's broke.
Then the process
but you
broke?
didn't break it. Like the process. So here's the thing. If COVID-19 broke a lot of businesses.
Most definitely.
Okay. The business was doing well. It was thriving. It was surviving, or it was doing whatever your intendant was doing, right? And all of a sudden, COVID-19, a pandemic hits you right in the jaw, and you no longer have any customers. You're bleeding out money, right? So in the sense, this pandemic broke your business, right? So you either are going to walk away from the business, right? Mm-hmm. Or you have the ability to pivot into something new opportunity, new space, whatever, even in your relationships to grow. But you didn't break it. Something else hindered it. Like, even if you're, I'm just saying you can't break it. I mean, you might break some shit to replace some shit. Like when I was a kid, once upon a time, I set a coat on fire because I didn't like it. And I knew I could get a new one. I'm just saying, right?
That guy.
So I broke it, right? So I could get something new to replace it, not to make it better. I'm just throwing it out there.
Let that breathe.
I'm just saying, we all come from different places, and
Real talk.
this is about being authentic and telling authentic stories. I ain't gonna lie to you, and I ain't gonna make it up neither.
Wow.
As my wife said, you must have been a really special kid. I was just as special as I am an adult.
Oh my goodness.
Let's go.
All right.
So that was
my question.
Yeah.
Would you be afraid to break something in order to make it
Are you
better?
afraid to break shit to make it better?
No.
Let's trash it. So, okay, here's the thing. What is one thing right now that you would break? We're going to pass on this make it better shit so we could get something new. I want to, like I don't want a new wife, so I don't break it. That's why we've been together for 18 years.
All right, real talk.
My morning routine.
All right.
I need to tighten that up.
So you need to change your habits. You need to break the old habits,
Yes.
as Audrey said, and make some new ones.
Yes.
All right, dope. What about you?
Pretty much the same thing. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, you want to break your habits?
Yeah.
You want to break up with your habits?
Oh, most definitely.
All right. So you can create some new habits.
Yeah.
All right. Sure, a lot of people out there want to break some old habits so that they can create some new ones.
What kind of habits, I wonder, what kind of habits our audience would like to break? Go ahead and let us know, because I like interaction. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, if you're out there listening to us, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, go out there and throw us. Say, okay, if you got some bad habits and you want to break your bad habits and adopt some new ones, let's toss it out there. Like maybe if you're married and your wife only has sex with you once a week and you want it twice a week, that would be a bad habit. Y'all have a bad habit of having sex once a week.
That's a matter of perspective.
Well, I mean, it takes two. You got to ask permission. I'm just saying.
Wow. That hole just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Shit.
People are doing it once a week?
I mean, some people, I don't know. Some people do it once
I don't know what
a week.
everybody does. I'm not even sure what I do. I don't mark it on the calendar or
Some
anything.
people ain't getting none. And they who knows?
That's a broken marriage.
Well, it might not be a broken marriage, but it's definitely something broke up in that bitch.
That's a broken marriage.
It's a broken marriage.
Wow.
I said it. It needed to be said.
All right. So Desiree throws out there. She says, I need to break up with worry. I can't help that one. I agree. You should break up with worry. You know how you break up with worry? For all my good Christians out there in the world.
Oh, this should be really good.
I'ma just tell you real quick. It ain't up for debate. You want to break up with worry? Believe in God.
There it is.
Yeah, I'll let y'all let that breathe. Y'all breathe, y'all pray, y'all do whatever you need to do on that one. Because if you believe in God, like real talk, here's it. For my non-Christian people, believe in something bigger than yourself. Because at the end of the day, then you ain't got shit to worry about. Like, I believe in me so much, I'm not worried. I believe in God so much, I'm not worried. Right, don't get me wrong. I can have concerns. I can even be stressed out a little bit. I might even complain because the wife will tell you, that shit happens. You know what I mean? but real talk, I'm not really worried about I'm not worried about what's coming, right? Because I know that I'm going to do the work. It's going to be there. I believe in God, and God said, one of the things that we're going to talk about, and we're already talking about, is resources, right? Mm-hmm. God believe in something greater than yourself. So if it ain't God, then, Allah, Buddha, still all gods, whatever. Even if you Greek, Roman, whatever, you still believe in a God. So let's go. If you Wiccan, you believe in a God, whatever you want to call it. So, okay, so here it is. Go ahead, you cut me off whenever you're ready.
Man, you seem perplexed over there.
Well, the reality,
I want to hear his explanation.
The explanation is just this, right? You, the individual you, the proverbial you, we have everything that is required to do what we want to do. We choose not to. So if you're worried, I'm picking on you, Mom, by the way, so everybody knows Desiree is my mother, and she's going to probably cuss me out later. But she doesn't cuss because she's a retired pastor, and there's a reason why I'm using this. So here's the deal, right?
She's on the other side of the screen, which helps.
Absolutely. Let's go, because we had this conversation in real life. But the reality of it is God, you have everything you need, right? You don't need anything else, right? If you right now, if you're hungry, I guarantee you have food in your kitchen. If you got a kitchen, might not be what you want to eat, but it's there, right? I want to start a business, right? Not me, because I already have one. But let's say out there in the world, I want to start a business. Okay, cool. You got your mind. You got a couple of ducats. You can start a business. The only thing stopping you is you, right? I want to start a podcast. Okay, cool. Well, we know by demand, all you need is a lavalier mic and a tape recorder and a cell phone. Let's go. And the truth be told, that is all you need to start a podcast.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be a better photographer. Well, go take pictures. Take pictures daily. I want to edit video and audio, right? Go start editing video and audio. You want a new job. Apply for a new job. Like, it's really things in life, in terms of the things that we want, in my opinion, are really simple. We have all the resources. We really do. So if you want to stop worrying, stop. Wake up tomorrow. I know we're humans. It's hard.
Bit of
Real
a challenge.
But if you wake up tomorrow and have, what did she put on there? God has given us everything we need to do more than survive. Faith is truly the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things yet seen. True story. Let's go. So here's the thing. Wake up tomorrow and stop worrying. Live your life, right? Because here's the thing. If you die tomorrow, what you worried about today?
The Bible says, take no thought for tomorrow.
Take no thought for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm saying it now. No, I'm just playing. Bible said it first.
Wow.
Oh, that's a whole nother conversation. I don't want to
Ain't
piss
it,
anybody
though?
off.
Got you.
So, what it do, Sharon in Memphis? Let's go. Love to have you.
That is my mom.
What's up, Mom?
Hey, Mom, how you doing?
I was like, Sharon in Memphis. Wait a minute, I know a Sharon in Memphis.
So, I mean, I don't know. So, what else out there in the world? Like, I know I'm trying to think about what I would like to break so that I could. You know what? I don't know if I want to break anything.
Wind.
I want to,
Wind.
I want to break wind.
Yes.
Man, I almost threw up earlier. I would have preferred to have broken wind. Yeah, true story. Let the gas flow, not the acid. But
I can't even say let that breathe on that one.
Hold that breath.
yeah,
It's like I can't breathe. Really, like oh,
right.
it's like oh.
I got some things I want to repair. I don't know if I have any things I want to break right now. And I think we're on a pathway. I love what COVID has done for us, or at least me personally. COVID made me take a back seat to life, at least the life I was living. Right, things weren't always working out the way that I wanted to. Things weren't aligning, and there were things that were happening behind the scenes that I wasn't seeing. And COVID made everything stand still. And so, in the midst of chaos, Mom taught me, and of course, a bunch of books, right? If in the midst of chaos, the people who stand still in the middle of it survive it. And so prior to COVID-19, I was already in the midst of some chaos, right? COVID-19 added more chaos, but it was out of my control. And so at that point, it forced me to stand still and then begin to look at things. And so that's the win, man. I think a lot of people, that'll help people stop with worry. So if you're one of those folks out there in the world and you're like, oh my God, I'm worrying, what's coming next? Stand still. You'll see it all.
It's interesting that you say that, because since we're talking about the Bible, I think one of the two verses that really, or two stories that capture this, is Moses at the Red Sea. He tells the people, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And God gave them salvation. Later on, the Bible says, be still and know that I am God. Sometimes we do need to be still. We need to know how to be still. And it doesn't always necessarily mean a lack of activity, because even as you are being still in the midst of the chaos of COVID-19, you're still active. There's still things that you're doing. But learning that ability to stand still in the midst of the chaos and not be swept up by it, not be so distracted by it that you lose sight and focus. And I agree with you. If you want to stop worrying, trust God. Just as your mother said.
Yeah, true story. And if you don't trust God, trust you. Shit, I ain't got nothing else for you on that one, bro.
I guess we'll let that one breathe as well.
We will, absolutely. We can
Most
get it, because not
definitely.
everybody believes in God, but this
True.
ain't that show. So it can be. So if your group of y'all want to go
No,
here and have
no,
that show,
no,
we can have
no.
that
This.
conversation.
Nope,
yeah, let's have a
nope, nope,
conversation.
nope,
We gotta
nope,
be
nope,
on that note, we
nope,
gotta
nope,
be PC.
nope, 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 nope.
So, all right, cool. But all right, on our journey to self-development, here we are, right? The platform is here, resources. I love the idea that, Mom asked a question about worry, right? How do we stop worrying? Because right now everybody is in this pandemic. Some people are taking hits to the jaw financially. Some people are taking hits to the jaw literally. I was reading something the other day in terms of domestic violence and child abuse, and it already runs rampant in our community, but right now things are kind of running unchecked because of COVID-19 and the social distancing. So for all the people who are out there in the world struggling on a higher level, like in a deeper situation, I wish you peace and freedom soon. But there's resources out there for those folks as well. But we wanted to have this whole conversation about self-development, growth during COVID-19, and networking and resources. Yeah?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. So let's,
All right.
you know,
Not like Spectrum or CBS or ABC or ESPN or
nah,
Food Network.
Okay, so what kind of, so I figured we freelance this conversation a little bit.
Okay.
Because it was a conversation that y'all wanted to have. And I was like, no, but let's go.
We're convincing.
Yeah, there it is. Y'all are. Y'all pulled my leg, you know, no gas intended.
Ew.
And
No gas, all ass.
there it is, right?
Yeah, I went there.
Beans, baby, beans. Remember, we put bullets in the jar for the day. If you want to help us buy more ammo, go ahead and hit that PayPal. Me, F5ENT, and you know, patronize us. And I'm just saying, let's go. So resources, right? Resources and networking. So where we want to drive this conversation? I mean, because it can go anywhere. Like we could talk about networking events, networking with people. We can talk about networking with on social media. You know, we can use specifically networking to grow a business. That's typically where I'm at. Or maybe it's just networking to build personal development resources and things like that. Where we want to go, y'all?
I want to ask Damon, what is your experience with networking and these sorts of things?
I guess the bulk of my experience has been in the cooking, my cooking experience in my years there. Having those lines of communication, having those people that you can always reach out to if you're having a problem with a recipe, having a problem figuring out how to make something, the particularities of it. I've always had great resources in those arenas. My grandmother has always been a great cooking resource for me.
Mm.
I remember when I was working in Cleveland at this was a competitor for Whole Foods. My executive chef said she wanted to do a spin or more upscale spin on soul food. And the first person I called was my grandmother, because my grandmother was the first person to teach me how to cook. So my grandmother, we sat, we talked. That conversation and translated into some really upscale soul food that sold very well in our store. The people were amazed at how we could create it, for one thing, and it worked very well. So for me in my cooking, my grandmother's always been a great resource.
That makes a lot of sense. All right. The reason I asked is because, you know, I've had different types of networking experiences, from the formal networking to like going to a networking event and passing out business cards, which always seemed like a waste of time. But I did meet two super cool people that I still talk to this day on a regular basis. So there is something to be said for that.
I mean, passing out business cards lightweight sucks, right? Unless you got a cool ass business card or you collect business cards,
Which I do neither. So that's why I don't do that anymore. Networking, it's a hit and miss. It's a hit and miss thing for me personally, because sometimes I'm not. If you don't go into a situation like that with a goal in mind, like, and it may be to pass out X amount of business cards or to meet a certain person in a certain industry, whatever your goal is. If I don't go in there with something in mind, it'll feel like waste of time.
yeah,
You know
true
what I mean?
story, true story.
So I don't know. That's my take on it.
I mean, the thing about networking is this, right? You do it every day. Most people just don't realize it. Like, so when you're in business, you know, I think originally people used to think about networking as really marketing and sales. And, you know, it's out there, you're trying to push something. You're trying to, you know, force somebody to engage or buy something they may or may not want, yada, 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 right? But I mean, the thing about networking is just that, right? Meeting new people. So if we're talking business specifically, it's about building new relationships. Right. Some people will say it's about finding new friends, and that might be your intent. Like if you're a networker out there in the world and you're like, man, I need new friends. I need new people to hang out with. You know, that might be the purpose of your networking. Right. So you're going to the bar, you're going to different events or trade shows or whatever it might be. Maybe not in COVID, because right now you might be using social media to do a lot of your networking. But it's about building new relationships and finding commonality amongst people or amongst different individuals. But you're right. You do have to have kind of a reason. And I think that's why I've always hated the whole idea, like, go to the networking thing and hand out your business card. You know, how many, you know, yes, hand out business cards. If you are in business, definitely you should be handing out business cards as much as you possibly can. It is the fastest way to get your name out there, right? You can buy a couple thousand business cards for $25-$35 and you're off and running to the horses. But the reality of it is if you hand out a business card and you walk away from the individual that you're talking to, you didn't really network. You just handed out a business card. You didn't get the person's name. You didn't share a story. You didn't engage you didn't engage. Number one, so you didn't build a bond with that person. Number two, you know, you just hand them a business card and said, go fish, as if they're gonna look you up, Google. Well, now they'll probably Google you, maybe if there was some interest. But what did you leave behind that gave them any interest? So network is an intentional thing, right? You know, so I remember one time I was on a plane, years ago, and I don't know where I was flying back from, but I was going somewhere. We're on a plane. And so I'm more of an introvert who has an introvert style, right? Because I've always been in sales, but realistically, I don't really like talking to people in that first engagement, right? So I'm not really the person that's going to walk in the door and break the ice, so to speak. However, I'm sitting on a plane, me and this guy, you know, we just start chopping it up. God knows I have no idea what we were talking about. I really don't. I just remember he did something really unique. I always thought he was in the wine and spirits business. Find out he was in the animal pet business, you know. But the crazy story is we both part ways. And about, I don't know, a couple months later, my phone rings and, you know, hey, this is so-and-so. We met on a plane a couple months back. And I was like, oh, cool. He said, I remember you do XYZ, right? And at the time we were in promotional products as 100% of our business. And I said, yeah, we can, you know, we basically make products, right? So we can put your logo, your name, your branding on different items that you're going to do giveaways or whatever. At the time they were developing a new product. Then long story short, he was like, hey, we'd like to work with you guys. I love what you said on the plane. Again, I still don't remember what we talked about. The point is that we apparently had a deep enough conversation that we both remembered each other enough, so much that he had a need. And apparently I spoke at that time about being able to fulfill certain things that he had the capacity to say, hey, Miguel, I'm interested in doing business with you. And that's really kind of what networking is. Like, there was no intent on that plane ride. Now, if you think about networking in that sense, how many people prior to COVID and maybe even now in COVID, do you actually have authentic and real conversations with? You know, do you sit next to someone or bump into someone at a grocery store and have any real engagement in terms of who they are? And do you actually share who you are? Or is it that we're so busy? And that's one thing COVID did for me too. It reminded me not to be so busy in my life. That A, I don't engage new people. And B, I continue to engage the people I know. Because right now, the reason my business is surviving COVID-19 is because of the people I know. And a lot of businesses are like that, right? Yeah, networking has to be intentional. And I think there's some authenticity that has to happen in that process. You know, the whole building of this show was all about what? Telling people who we are, what we really do, and how we do it, right? And telling real stories. And in a sense, we are networking with a whole bunch of folks we haven't seen yet. We haven't met. You know, we're telling them who we are, what we do. We tell them our fears. And at the end of the day, we look human. I'm not, but we look human.
Most of the time.
Fuck y'all for looking at me funny.
I take this off when I get home. You know, it gets hot.
Real talk. Let that breathe.
Take off the muscles, right? Take off this belly.
They modeled that Jason Momoa Super Bowl commercial off to me. That's what I do when I get home. Just
So go.
No, this is, as I'm listening to you, what keeps coming to my mind is authenticity.
Yes.
You in the plane ride, you were authentic enough in that moment, just shooting the breeze back and forth, that he remembered you 2 months later when that need arose. It was like snapped. He knew exactly who he wanted to call.
Yeah,
and he called you. And I think that sometimes, you know, our avatars, we're so social media minded that maybe a bits of our authenticity gets lost in social media. It's lost in how we project or portray ourselves. Big like, I need so many like craze. I think sometimes that maybe we aren't as authentic as we need to be.
Oh, I mean, hell yeah. I know. Before COVID-19 and social media, people weren't as authentic as they needed to be. There was a whole bunch of lying motherfuckers running around.
Right.
You know, that's that whole fake it till you make it. No, motherfucker, tell the truth.
Right.
You know, you don't own that Bentley, you rented it. Uh,
You walked in front of it.
That's right. You just leaning on the side of it. Now look at me. I took that selfie. Let's go. You asked earlier how do you make it to 18 years of marriage, right? Being authentic, understanding that we as people are not perfect, right? But being authentic in developing relationships, that's networking. You have how do you form a bond or a kinship with someone if you are in a sense living a lie, right? Now, other part is there's a pro and a con to that into being authentic, right? And we all know it. Maybe we don't. But one of the cons to being authentic is negative feedback, right? People may not accept you for who you are, right? And sometimes for people, that's why it's hard to be authentic, right? Because I know something about me that you might not like. Now I'm not telling you if you do stupid shit to go out and tell the world that. But here's the thing. So authentically, I cuss often, right? Prior to this show, there was a whole bunch of people that didn't know I use swear words,
Which is hilarious to me.
Real talk.
right? But now, if you listen to this show, absolutely, I have a foul mouth, right? And it is authentically who I am and who I have been since I was probably in first grade, right? Right, you on it, boy. I could cuss you out with I couldn't spell my name, but I could drop the F-bomb with the best of them.
He's that guy.
You know what I mean?
In the spirit of Tranere, you got to relax.
Yeah, but it makes me who I am. You know what I mean? My daughter one day during breakfast, we went out and had breakfast because that sometimes is one of our things. And she was like, Dad, you cuss a lot. And I said, I know. And then she said, do you even know the origins of the words you use?
I love that child.
I said, well, let's break it down at breakfast. And so we broke down the origin of every cuss word. You know what I mean? And so some of them I absolutely knew because I'm not going to use, I'll use a word. I don't know where it came from. I'll even make up a word if that doesn't matter. Then I can say I made it up. But yeah, so the reality of it is we broke it down. But that's being authentic.
Definitely.
Right. And so, the cons, yes, you're going to get some negative feedback. Some people may have some choice words. You might develop a hater or two out there in the world. But ain't nobody got time for that. Right. You got a life to live. Let that shit breathe and move on. Networking takes time. It really does. Like people sometimes don't want to do networking. They're like, I don't know how. In the professional world, sometimes when we have employees or teams, we assume people know how to do a thing. And when you've not done it, you kind of assume it's something that it may not be.
True.
And so so networking, if I wanted to do a really quick, cool, funky comparison to sales, if you tell somebody, ooh, I need you to get in a sales job, most people take a negative connotation to sales. And they're like, oh my God, I can't do it. I've never done it. I don't know how to talk to people. No. They get into this piece. And I kind of look at them sometimes like, Jesus, it ain't that bad. Like really, it's just having a conversation with someone, because the reality of it is great salespeople don't sell products. They sell themselves. And so that's networking, right? Networking is really presenting yourself, sharing yourself, like Damon said, with intent, right? And so maybe the intent is to maybe move a product or to be able to show a product, or maybe that intent is to build a resource, some human capital that you might have the opportunity to spend that equity down the road. Maybe that intent is to have a relationship or to further your relationships. Damon, I think off camera or Tuesday we were talking, and you said something about finding mentors, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes networking is about personal and self-development, right? And so there might be someone out there in the world that you've met or you've run into or you read a book about or whatever, and you're saying, man, I would love to learn more about that person. All you got to do is reach out to them, and it's not that hard. Networking is just that, pick up the phone and call somebody. Accept the fact that you're not always going to get a yes, and not everyone is going to be receptive in the beginning. However, if you're consistent and you push the envelope, then folks you'll find that over time relationships are forged, even in social media. People use social media and they're out here yammering. Trust me, I'm one of them that's yammering on 18 different whatnots, and sometimes I want an immediate return. But the reality of it is that some people they like your stuff, but they're not following you, and there's a difference, right? There are people who are liking, there are people who are following, but then there are people who are actually engaging, right? And so even that takes time. So what are your goals in that relationship? Likes, follows, engagement. Like, follow, engagement, sales. Like, follow, engagement, sales. What's next? You know what I mean? Starting a podcast, it takes time to develop those relationships. But it's all about networking and understanding also how to use those resources as you're developing them. But yeah, man.
We talked about the system and
Breaking shit.
It's not broken. Doing what it's designed to do. As we bring in networking in the social climate of where we are today, is it the same? Does it operate the same?
I don't see why it doesn't. I mean, somebody out there might say no, it doesn't. I think networking still works the same. Question is, are you intentionally networking, right? So hypothetically, let's say you're displaced, right? During this time, you're laid off. Maybe your company's closed. Whatever's happening, the fastest way back to work is looking at what resources you have in terms of the people that you know and intentionally calling them and saying, hey, I lost my job and I'm looking for another job. Where's the opportunities at? Now, this doesn't mean that you actually have to take what people offer because it may not fit you, but making the headway, right? So absolutely, I don't think it changes. I think in many cases, it's going to behoove us as people to network more and get to know our neighbor more and really look at what our true resources are, because if things are to get worse, we're gonna have to rely on each other a great deal more. If you're in business right now, one of the keys to this, and I can fess up because I haven't done it well. Not to the extent that I know how, but this is the time where you're probably being you should be being proactive in reaching out to all your customers, not to sell them something, but just simply to say, hey, hi, how are you? How is business, right? Are you surviving this thing? Is there something I can help you with? Even, and the reality of it is, you never know until you ask and building these relationships. So no, I don't think it's different. I think the same thing on Facebook. I do think that we get clouded sometimes, definitely in social media, where we're just constantly pushing and constantly asking. But I mean, that's no different. But I think in social media, there's no harm in following and DMing somebody. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying DMing them for the nasty stuff. I'm just saying DMing them in a message and saying, yo, how you doing? Real talk. And then with protests, right? We got a lot of we got civil unrest going on across the country. Let's arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. How often are we reaching out to our friends who are out here protesting? Right? Because there's a lot of trauma that's being created in that process. And whether it, we can have the debate whether it's self-inflicted or whatever that bullshit is that people want to breathe. But, are we reaching out to our friends and our family who are struggling in that relationship, right? Because there are a lot of race issues that have happened. I was on earlier on this year, we were on a conference call and there was a black lady who's married she's in an interracial relationship married to a white man, and privately to share the fact that their marriage is struggling because of today's racial issues. And that's real, right? And I hope that her friends create safe spaces both for the two of them to speak and learn some things about themselves. But again, that's networking. To answer your question, no, I don't think it changes. I think we have to do more of it. Shout out to Bobby Joe because he gave his fish. We've been neighbors for 16 years, and I know I'm a weird neighbor. Real talk, because I just be like, yo, deuces, and go in the house. My man has seriously been reaching out all year. Like that's super dope, right? And it feels good to me. I'm still a strange neighbor, but the fish was dope. But let's go.
When you said is it different because of COVID-19, the first thing that popped in my head was the tools are different, but networking is the same.
If you're networking, build it, man. Just be intentional about what we're doing in this life. I mean, we the last two shows, we talked about, or the last show we talked about behavior change, right? This just tags into it, right? So if we're trying to do something new, if your business is trying to change, you're trying to create new habits, if outreaching to new people, if outreaching to your existing people or folks and friends is not part of that good habit, maybe this is one of those habits you change, right? You talk about breaking. Let's break the bad habit so that we can make room for new ones. If worrying is part of your habitual nature, well then let's start working on that on a daily basis until we can eradicate worrying, right? And so the thing is let's start being proactive and working on the things that make you worry. And that might be the real goal there. In the show prior to that, we talked about having goals and reaching those objectives. You start mashing these three shows together, or these three new tools during COVID-19, and I think people will they'll find themselves doing some amazing things become the end of the year, right?
And this is the perfect time to start implementing these things with a lot of people being home and stuff. So I think this is coming at a perfect time. So absolutely.
I mean, you ain't got shit else to do.
Right.
I mean, really, how much you can watch a lot of Netflix. Trust me, my daughter watches a shitload of Netflix. But real talk. I was talking to my wife, and then this is a scary thing. You know, but I said something. I said, hey, you know, maybe I got a good 10 more 20 years in me. You know, are we going to live it? Or are we going to sit around, you know, concerned about things that we can't control, right? I can't control a pandemic. I can't control COVID-19. But I can wake up every day and live my best life, right? I can live every day and go after the things that I want to achieve, you know, and we can live our best life together, right? You know, there are people out here who are covered in debt. And if it's your goal to get rid of the debt, then every day work toward getting rid of it. Yes, it's a struggle. It's always going to be, well, it doesn't always have to be a struggle. But if you work on it, if you wake up and work on it and face it every day, but at some point in time, it's going to be gone, right? Because you're working on getting rid of it. So, man, live his life. Fuck what you heard.
And this is Common Conversations with the Odd Fellas. If you like the podcast, if you like what you're seeing on Facebook, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, share and or like. And if you're really digging it and you want me to keep throwing money into the money jar, that tip jar, go ahead and hit the donate button. You know what? It costs to make this thing happen, and we didn't ask you to pay to listen. But I am now. Let's go.